YouTube, it's Cody and I'm back. We're going to talk about something a little bit different that I don't think I've seen YouTube videos touch on, and it's getting your new role, getting your new job, your first job in information security or your 10th job. It doesn't matter. What I want to talk about is your first month on your new job. So whether it's your first job or you're transitioning to a new company or a promotion, I think whatever the role is, and maybe even not security related, these tips might help you. These are things I wish people would have told me, or videos I wish I would have watched when I first got into cybersecurity, right? So now you're an analyst. Let's talk about your first 30 days on the job and a little bit of background too, right? Um, Congratulations if you have successfully completed the job interview process, whether it was in person or hybrid or remote. We're sort of in the middle of all these different things right now. So congratulations to you for getting your resume spruced up. If you pass the CISSP, you put that on your resume. And if it helped you, that is awesome. And I'm super proud of you all. And some of the things I'm going to talk about in the first 4 weeks here, I've got it split up into week 1 through 4, are just my thoughts. They're not the ultimate thoughts, right? I just want to help provide a couple tips or ideas for all of you. And if you have other comments or suggestions or things that you would recommend in your first month at a new job for someone, drop them in the YouTube comments below. I'm just trying to create conversations and hopefully people collaborate and offer good ideas or better ideas than mine, right? So this is all about mentoring and helping lifting each other up, right? So this guy just completed his job interview. This is like pre-COVID. We're all shaking hands and all that stuff. So congratulations to him, or congratulations to you for the promotion or the career change or the company change or whatever it is. But this first week, right, we're going to look at onboarding. Now, this may seem super obvious, but I've added one little note. So item 1, 2, and 3 here on this what do you call it? The slide, right? Very obvious, right? But it's good to get these out of the way early on. So I put these on here. Week 1, obvious, complete your onboarding, complete your cybersecurity training, review and sign any outstanding papers, fingerprint work, all that kind of stuff, background check stuff, set up your benefits. I mentioned it because you want to get this stuff out of the way before projects start coming down your way and you forget there's a mismatch with your government information or your ID or whatever the case. So I like to just say, get those things out of the way that first week, get everything signed off, make sure you get your benefits set up, make sure you get all that, just get it out of the way, put it behind you, because you don't want that. You don't want to come back months later and realize that your contributions are off or something like that. So focus on that stuff. You're not going to be busy, hopefully, the first couple of days. So get that out of the way. But I put one thing in here right there. That second word is document, right? So whether you go into the office or you get something shipped to you, it's almost like you want to do your own YouTube unboxing video in your head. When you get the box, look at the box. Is this easy? You can look at kind of the risk of the asset getting shipped to you. Is it easy to identify? It's a high valued item like a MacBook or a Surface or whatever the asset is, right? Is it easy to identify? You open it up. Is there an asset tag on this? What's the first time password? Am I prompted for a new password? What's the security controls? Is there a AV solution on this? Is it encrypted? What can I actually do? Start clicking around. Like what control do I have? Do I have local admin? Do I have the ability to uninstall and install my own software with or without local admin, or get around controls? And while you're doing these things and poking around, you get a bulleted list in Word or get an Excel spreadsheet going and just start documenting these things. No asset tag. It is encrypted. That's awesome. So document the good and the bad, right? So you could have a column that says, here's all the things and here's what it is. Good, yes or no, right? So it's encrypted. Great. There's no asset tag. Bad. All that kind of stuff. You get what I'm saying, right? So you're documenting, and even take a step back and go to the onboarding process. Did human resources talk about completing my cybersecurity training? Were there confidential items in the view of the Zoom interviews in the background here? How did we share files back and forth between HR and myself before I was onboarded? That kind of stuff. The confidentiality agreement, the acceptable use agreement, all those policy documents, document those things. and with your expertise or your outside perspective, these are things that'll come up. I'll talk about in a bit why they're important. Reread the company website and intranet. Just become more familiar with your company. You may have interviewed with 10, 20 companies. It's just good to refocus in on your company branding and colors and really get immersed in the company intranet or corporate intranet and resources and anything they have available. Maybe even be a good time to ask some questions. Where can I get the logo? What's our font style? So if you're maybe more on the blue team governance and policy side, you may want to get some templates set up early on and get those documents going. They may already have them drafted up, or you may have to build out your own. But if you're maybe going to be on the policy side, or even if you're not on the policy side, because you're going to be documenting your work anyway, it may be good to just get those little template documents set up and figure out where those resources are. Just a little note there, but good to read up on the company website, intranet, get a sense of things that are going on in the news or things that may impact the company, or just get immersed a little bit better. And then define success with your manager. So that end of that first week, so we've completed the onboarding, we're documenting all the way through that first week and really from there on to infinity. At the end of that first week, try to set up an early meeting with your manager, 30 minutes, an hour, just check in. You've completed all the HR documents, you're good to go. You're starting to get ready and feeling more comfortable with the company to take on a couple easy early tasks. And define what success looks like for your manager. Does your manager is he got a big project he wants you to tackle, a couple little items, a little more flexibility, a little less? Figure out what that success is going to look like for you in that first quarter or year or whatever the timeline is, and get that really nailed out early on, so that as we're documenting things, as we're going through the policies and as we're learning our own job and about the company, we can document how we're going to accomplish some of these things and accomplish that successful mission that your manager's already laid out in this first week. Now, week 1 or 2, that can happen. But I think one of the most important things to do is this first point, to set up personal calls with your team. Now, you're going to be introduced. You're going to naturally work on projects with your team. I think on the personal side, that one of the more important things you can do early on is just to take the time to set up that call with your team individually, 15 minutes, with whether if you have a huge team, focus on a couple key players that you may be working more closely with. But if you have a small team of only 5 to 10 people, just do some like back-to-back meetings, or just host a Zoom meeting and have people call in, almost like you're reverse interviewing. And I like to do like half professional, half personal. For me, it's just fun to get to know my employees and what their schedule looks like. When are you logging in and when are you logging off? What state you live in. If you have a big company, they may be on different time zones, so you kind of get to figure out when it's best to work on projects or items with your teammates. And then you can get the personal stuff, what do you like to do for fun and all that stuff, and get an idea if they have time off coming up or other things. And you can kind of gauge their workload, and maybe a little bit of, I guess the workload is the important part here, so that you're not going to be asking them too many questions, but you can sort of gauge how busy they are and focus your questions in certain areas. Like maybe Billy over here is super busy with a bunch of projects, but like Eric over here is like not as busy, so you can ask him some more questions and he'll point you in the direction, right? So it's important to kind of figure out who these key players are and where to go these first couple of weeks. I touched on that a little too much, so we're documenting any of those questions. So not only are we setting up calls with our team, but we're also documenting questions. If you're finding out that, what was his name, Billy or something, has a lot of projects, but he's responsible for disaster recovery, and you're noticing failures or alerts for disaster recovery, maybe as you're interviewing or talking with other people, you can find out, oh, this person, we may be able to shift responsibility to this person, or, right? There's like, I don't know, there's little things I think you can pick up during these conversations. Oh yeah, I've been here for 10 years and it's been great. Or, oh yeah, it's, I've been here for a couple years and really happy with the way management's supporting the security program. So there's little things you can pick up in these conversations and things you can ask. It's kind of what you want to get out of it. I'm not going to give you the questions, but you'll have to think about them, about what you're really looking for, what information you're looking for relative to your job. So set up the personal calls with the team, document any questions, document any concerns that come up during those calls, mostly related to helping the team and the company improve its security posture, right? Review and document any policy findings. So hopefully that first or second week, you could get access to the overall security policy, maybe the disaster recovery or business continuity plans, incident response plans. Even if you're on a whatever side of the coin you're on, blue, red, management, contributor, consultant, whatever. I think it's important to see those policy documents regardless, just to kind of get a feel for where the board and executive management stand on, how bought in they're into the policies or how much they support the program, those kind of things. And you can get a good idea of how much leeway you have in pushing security projects. You may not be the person responsible for pushing forward, this $25,000 tool or a $5,000 piece of hardware or whatever it is. But at least you can get an idea that when you present to your manager, you can have a couple options within different price ranges and know how much buy-in you actually need to get, or how much pushback you'll get for running your pen test, on the weekend or something. I don't know. But in any case, if you get the policy document and you're interviewing your team, you're documenting these questions, you're getting a feel for the entire organization is kind of the point. Continue to learn about the org. That's all built into this, but keep poking around. We've got the policy documents on the security side. We've got the HR onboarding side. What does sales look like? How big's the operations team? Just continue to ask questions, continue to learn. It's almost like you're taking the CISSP exam again, but you're applying this to real life. And then understand your own performance metrics, like the previous one. What are you going to be graded on? What's like your annual review process look like? What do you need to accomplish? Going into the week 3, finishing up or setting up those calls, not only are we getting to know your immediate team, but as I alluded to in the last week 2, start to expand that out for a broader view. Talk to sales, talk to customer success, talk to the account managers, talk to anyone you can in executive management if you can get their time, right? 15-minute calls is all you need. Talk to the engineers and development team, whoever you have, marketing. All these people they have their individual pieces that are moving about the company, but from a security perspective, when we're going to make a change or perform some sort of a security operation, we may impact different pieces of the business, right? So I always find that it's important to have these conversations early on with people in different parts of the company, different departments, so that we can get a little bit of a buy-in, but also sort of bounce some things back and forth. From personal experience, I made a change. I made a simple security change regarding emails at a company, right? And it was like a warning banner and some phishing protections and stuff. But I had established a little bit of a relationship with the marketing team, and they reached out to me directly instead of going to my manager and causing a whole ruckus. They reached out to me directly, and we were able to work a little bit back and forth on some of the wording or how it would appear in on their mobile devices, and adjust that change while still meeting the compliance requirements of the security policy. But we had established that relationship already from the beginning with the sales guys or senior VP of sales or whatever, and made that change, had a little bit of pushback, worked through it, and now you're set, right? So I think getting those early personal relationships going with everyone, with people outside of just the InfoSec team or IT team, is important. And I think that's probably even regardless of whether you're in information security or not, right? So get to know your immediate team, get to know the larger org and the key players in the org. These are people that'll, be impacted by your soon, changes or patching or scans or whatever you're going to be doing, right? Identify and execute early wins. So you've already had the conversation, hopefully, with your manager. You've checked in, and you're setting up your own success metrics, or what you're going to base your own success story on. You've already set up the call with your manager and figure out, how he defines success, or what you're being graded on, or how it's being graded. And I think you can probably get a couple early wins if you've already documented things. Oh, the onboarding process just needs this little tweak from my perspective. You can accept it or not, right? The the security policy needs a couple updates. Can we fit that in? I'm noticing that my device wasn't encrypted. Can we, review all of our devices and make sure we have 100% compliance? I noticed we haven't documented or ran any vuln scans. Can we get that going? Maybe these aren't easy wins for you, but there's maybe some things early on as you've talked to your team, the extended team, reviewed the policy documents, documented your questions right early on. There may be some little projects in there that you can assign yourself and just get a couple easy wins early on, and not only make yourself look good, but and your manager look good, but the company, improve the company's security posture. We're security professionals, and we're supposed to, everything is for the business, right? And we're not supposed to be a hindrance. We have to have that constant balance between security and ongoing operations, right? And so identifying some of those early wins and executing those early wins get you going, get you feeling good too, right? You've interviewed and you feel like you want to do something, right? So that may be one thing to execute on towards the end of your first month, or at least identify, right? And then another thing I like to do, regardless of my role or company, is set up recurring meetings with my manager. It doesn't have to be a full hour, but I usually do an hour. It doesn't have to last a whole hour, but asking questions about, pain points for them, how you can help, things, bounce questions off, set up a working session, look at a policy document every other week. Just set that up, because as a manager, they're going to be busy. They're going to be pulled into different meetings. And if you set up that recurring meeting early on, just get it on their calendar and just work through some items, keep that going. It'll benefit both you and your manager, right? So get that going early on. And maybe your manager doesn't like that. Maybe just set it to a monthly call, or maybe they just want an email. Set yourself a reminder to send him a monthly email or something on tasks you're working on. Kind of figure that out. That's all ties into KPIs, right? And your metrics, success metrics. And one thing I like to put in here, you've been onboarded, you've been asking questions, you're starting to identify what your projects are going to look like in your workload and all that, is to, reach out to your old coworkers, make sure you keep those professional relationships going. Typically when I leave, I've always left on good terms with my companies. I send out an email and just provide my LinkedIn and say, hey, let's connect afterwards, and kind of keep it professional at that. I don't try not to do personal sell and email, but reconnect with those old coworkers, see how things are going. If they're struggling with something, you may be able to say, oh yeah, that's how I used to do it, or whatever. But hopefully that stuff's already documented, right? And then going into your last week. So we've chatted with our teams and we've documented things. We're identifying some projects. We're starting to get some things going, and the rest is sort of up to you. So this is kind of where I leave it for all of you. Establish some recurring tasks and checks if you need to or have to, right? So if you're responsible for your penetration testing program and it's pretty persistent, you could set up like a 8:05 to 8:06 a.m. reoccurring task every morning that just kind of alerts you. Oh yeah, and then just get the muscle memory going of, I need to kick these off, or I need to review the report, or I need to write up the email every day, or I need to check the logs every morning. So put that in your calendar early on, and you get that momentum going, and that muscle memory of doing your tasks that you need to do. Sometimes it's going to feel good early on, but I'm sure you're going to get busy. So keep those tasks going. Set it at like a year reoccurrence, and just work through it. Like I said, you're going to get busy. So if you set them up early on, you'll remember this is the first thing I have to do when I log in, or something like that, right? Make sure if you need to access any sites or programs or whatever, you get those going. At least privilege applies here, right? But in order to do my job, I need access to this, and make sure you go through that early on, because you're going to get busy. Your manager is going to get busy. Get those requests in early while you're fresh. Follow up on any of those missed conversations over the last couple of weeks. Coworkers may have been out. Just follow up, set up those 15-minute calls, maybe even some reoccurring conversations if you hit it off or something. 4 kind of ties into the documentation thing, right? So if you notice a lack of documentation in one process or something, you may be able to start documenting some of those processes where there may be a gap, and check in with your manager on your call and say, hey, I've got an SOP, a standard operating procedure. draft it up. Here's how I'm going to do this. This is for the team. Get that right. Get these processes going. Get the security controls in place. You get where I'm going with this. And you've set up, or you are setting up your baseline. So you're scanning your image, your gold image. You're scanning you've ran your first vuln scan or pen test or whatever your projects we identified in the previous weeks are. Get that initial task or scan or whatever it is going, and then that's sort of your baseline, and we'll work off of that. And hopefully your improvement is increasing the security posture at least. And that's it. That's week 1, 2, 3, 4. A couple of things you shouldn't do, possibly. These are just my personal opinion. Try not to be late, even if you're remote. That's why it's good to set up those morning tasks. If you have a daily task or you can think of one, just don't be late. Don't take advantage of the remote factor. Don't be arrogant. Even if you're an expert in some way and your company's doing things a different way, you may have an opportunity to learn a different approach. And that different approach to solving a problem may help you later on, or it just may be another tool in your bag that you can use at another company or another role, right? So be open-minded and try to accept different ways of doing things. And then where you find an opportunity, you can say, oh, here's one way I've done this. We should try this way. And then your way may be better and the team accepts it or not. And then you can document that and go from there. Yeah, don't post negatively about work on social media sites, and obviously don't post any not social, but sensitive information. That's a given. I try to keep that stuff to a minimum. Being quiet and silent, not the worst thing, but this is your opportunity at your new role or your new company to ask questions and play the dumb card. And I still play the dumb card, of course, but ask those questions while you can. Not while you can. You should always feel comfortable to ask questions, but this is really a good time to, even the things how do you do this? Even though you know how to do it, like I said, there's a different approach possibly, or a different way of explaining things that you never thought of. So ask away, ask all the questions, document all the things. And then the last point is probably not as relevant with the social media age right now, and not social media, but the remote working environment. Just don't get into the gossip. There may be some drama going on before you got there, before you existed. So I just thought I'd throw that in there. I always stay out of that stuff, whatever it is. And I think it was more prevalent probably in person, but if there's stuff going around, well, you guys deal with it. I'm too busy trying to keep the company secure. Before I leave, this is probably going a little bit long, but just to recap, this is probably the most important slide to take, right? Connect with your team members, complete your onboarding early on, and document that whole process. Ask all the questions, might be the most important thing, right? Ask all the questions. Ask a question about every process, every policy, every piece, every person. Establish those metrics early on so you have an idea of what success is going to look like for you. And then number 5 might be the most important, is document your entire journey from getting your assets to onboarding, to your interviews with your team members, not interviews, to your conversations with team members, to patching, everything, every piece of work you do during your first month. Just document that whole thing. And even at the end of the month, you could probably connect with your manager and say, here's all the things we're doing really well. Awesome. Here's all the things we need work on. Let's get to work. Right. So you can get it. Like I said, you can execute on those early successes that first couple months once you've identified those things, those findings, coming in with fresh eyes too. So that's it. Thanks everybody for watching this. I'm on Zoom here, but I'm going to put this on YouTube. Hopefully this was enjoyable. Like I said, if you got comments or questions, drop them in YouTube comments below, and I'll respond to them as soon as I can. A little bit of an outdated picture of me. My hair probably should have looked like this during where this photo is, but I didn't get a haircut. But anyway, I'm Cody, and I've got about a decade of experience in IT, all different avenues, and information security. I am CISSP, CISM, and Security Plus certified. Mentioned in other videos, working on the CISA at some point, and the CCSP, which is the cloud security exam. Personally, musician, love bourbons, play some games. I try to stream a little bit, but I'm No, can't really focus on talking and gaming at the same time. Fitness enthusiast. I love to walk. Um, Local activists involved with city politics and stuff. And then happy to be a mentor or help you on your security journey. That's why I'm posting these videos. You can tweet me at this Twitter handle, and my website's the same thing. So I'm just trying to get all the things uniform. So like I said, feel free to reach out. We will chat soon. And I hope this video was helpful. If you have some other questions or you'd like videos on some other things, just let me know. I'm happy to take some time to do some different things. So chat soon and have a good rest of your day or week or month.